Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of The Awesome with Cody. As usual, I'm your host, Cody, and today is officially the start of spooky season. Not really today. Today's, not the first, but anyways. This is the first podcast of the spooky season. And so, like I said last week, if you were paying attention, I'm going to do spooky movies, Halloween movies, whatever you want to call them. So I picked 4 because there's 4 Wednesdays this month. So first up, today we're going to talk about the Frighteners, which I'll get into in a minute. Next week I'm going to do Lord of Illusions. The week after that is The Lost Boys. And the last week is Beetlejuice. Kind of all over the board with these. 3 of these you can consider horror comedies if you really want to. I do. Lord of Illusions kind of came out of nowhere as I was talking over different movies with Paige, and I was like, what movie we should watch? And she's like, what's that? And I was like, Lord of Illusions. Then I tried to describe it to her, and they didn't go so well. So we're going to watch it, and I'm going to get her opinion on that. I love the movie myself, but I digress. I'll get into that next week. But this week, we are talking about the Frighteners. The Frighteners, for the folks who don't know, who are listening to this, is a movie from 1996, directed by Peter Jackson and co-written with him and Fran Walsh. So you may be asking yourself, well, who's Fran Walsh, Cody? Well, let me tell you. Fran Walsh is a collaborator of Mr. Peter Jackson. They have been, we'll say, partners, I guess is the best way to put it, since 1983 was their first, right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, was the first time they worked together, I believe. Was it that long? No, 87. What was the first thing they did together? Was it Meet the Feebles? It might have been Meet the Feebles. I don't remember when they actually started working together. I didn't read that far into it. Anyways, so they're collaborative partners, and they've been working on things with each other since 1987. And she's helped him with everything from Meet the Feebles to, obviously the Frighteners. That's why I put it on their list. Lord of the Rings movies, the Hobbit movies, King Kong, The Lovely Bones, Mortal Engines, I believe, Heavenly Creatures too, right? Hold on, wait a minute. Yeah, Heavenly Creatures, yeah. So Fran and Peter have worked on pretty much every large project he ever made, and a few other ones that weren't as big. But yeah, that's anything he wrote and directed, I think she was part of for sure. But also things that he produced, she wasn't always part of that, but a lot of stuff he wrote and directed, he produced as well, and she was part of it as well. So, yeah, but that's Fran Walsh, partner in creative, I would say, spark and genius that goes along with Peter Jackson. But yeah, that's I think that's really it for that one. For Fran, Peter Jackson, I went over a lot of his stuff just now when I was talking about Fran, but he is the creator of the cinematic Lord of the Rings movies, along with The Hobbit, obviously. So those 6 movies. He has done a lot of things that I enjoyed. I enjoyed pretty much everything he's created so far. Even some of the not so great stuff, like Mortal Engines, fun but not a great movie. Hard book to adapt if making into a movie, if you ask me. But no one asked me about those sort of things. But he's done. He's done so many things. Just writer and director. Bad Taste was his first full length movie. On that, he also was editor, makeup effects supervisor, and special effects supervisor. So, I mean, he did a lot of things for that movie. Meet the Feebles, one of my favorite just fucked up movies. Then he did Brain Dead, also known as what's that one called over? It's got another name, I believe. Dead Alive. That's what it is. Dead Alive. I couldn't remember what it was called. Dead Alive, I should say this. It's called Dead Alive here in the United States. Originally, it was released in Australia or New Zealand area. Or New Zealand only, right? Not only, but when it was released, was called Brain Dead. Which, one of these days I'll talk about those ridiculous movies. But not this time. Anyways, yeah, Brain Dead or Dead Alive, as the States is known, from 1992, which seems like it should have been a long time ago, longer than that, but I mean, really, that's a long time ago if you do the math on that. But anyhow, Heavenly Creatures, Forgotten Silver, Jack Brown, Genius, well, he didn't direct that one, he wrote that one. The Lord of the Rings trilogy, he did Frighteners, and then got contracted in like 1998, I think it was. I think it's for 1988 or 1997 when he got contracted to work on the Lord of the Rings movies, which then ate up, well, a lot of his time. He basically made those three movies, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, to the Two Towers, and Return of the King, literally made them all together. So it ate up those, like, I want to say it was like 5 or 6 years. And then he came out and did King Kong. Then I want to say it was Lovely Bones was his next one in 2009. So I mean, he ate a lot of time up doing a lot of movies. Then he went to the Hobbit movies, which he shot all of them back to back as well, the same process, and released them a year apart on all of them, which is pretty cool. And then Mortal Engines. Well, he didn't write. He wrote that one, but he didn't direct that one. That was his. That was directed by his co-director from the Hobbit movies, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that's it. And coming up stuff, he's got a bunch of stuff coming up. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's Peter Jackson. Pretty interesting dude, and has a lot of stuff he's been doing. Starring in the Frighteners is a handful of people. Not a whole lot of well-known people. The biggest name is Michael J. Fox. He stars in this, is amazing in it, is really one of his best performances as an actor in this movie, if you ask me. I mean, I've seen a lot of his stuff he's done, but this one, there was a lot for him to do, because there's a lot in this movie that he has to go through, and he does a really good job of it, if you ask me. But also in this movie, starring as the female lead, I guess you say, and co-star, would be, she goes by, so in this, she's credited as Trini Alvarado. She plays Lucy Linsky. I don't remember her from anything. But, I mean, that's just, it's weird to me. She looks familiar, but then looking at her credits, I can't pinpoint one thing that I'm like, oh yeah, that's her from that. It's like ones and twos episodes, a bunch of TV movies, some stuff I've never heard of before. So I'm like, I don't know. I thought I knew something else she was in, but I looked through her list and I was like, nope, I do not know any of this at all. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. But you can look her up. Next up is Peter Dobson. Peter Dobson plays Ray Linsky, who is Lucy's health-obsessed and comically hot-headed husband who dislikes Frank's tactics. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. But another guy looks familiar, but I couldn't really pinpoint him from anything. The one thing that, doing the research for this, is I found extremely funny is he does the cameo of Elvis Presley in Forrest Gump, which I did not know was him, but that makes sense because he's very Elvis Presley-ish in his manners. mannerisms in the first part of the Frighteners. And then looking back at his list of work, again, a lot of different things. Nothing I can pinpoint him in that says, oh yeah, that's who he is. But dude looks familiar. Probably the biggest thing I could say is he's awesome in this. So, that's Peter Dobson. Next up is John Astin. John Astin, best known, for me at least, best known as Gomez Addams from the original Addams Family television program, as well as he voiced the cartoon, if I'm not mistaken, too, that ran for a couple years. But the other one is he was in the sequel to Teen Wolf. He was in Teen Wolf 2. He was the Dean Dunn, which is pretty funny. But he's film-wise, he's done a lot of different things. Television-wise, like I said, Addams Family was probably his the thing that I know him most from, because I remember growing up watching those ones. Not that I watched them live on television. I'm not that old. But he also made a cameo as Gomez Addams in the new Scooby-Doo movie in early 70s. But he's been in a bunch of different things. 1 and 2 episodes of a lot of different shows outside of the Addams Family, which he obviously was in for. How many episodes did they do of the Addams Family? I don't even know. Ran for 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. I don't know. I guess I should look this up before. 64 episodes over those 2 years. But yeah, he played Gomez Addams in that. And then movie-wise, I mean, he's been in everything from earliest movies, West Side Story. He was in that one. Touch of Mink. What else do you know? Freaky Friday. The 1973 or 1976 version. National Lampoon's European Vacation. Like I said, Teen Wolf 2. Return of the Killer Tomatoes in 1988. That's a good one. Oh yeah, he played the janitor in Gremlins 2, the new batch. That's fun. But yeah, I mean, that's in the Frighteners, he plays the judge, which I'll get to in a minute, which makes no sense if you don't know the movie, but I'll get there. Jeffrey Combs is our next actor and character actor, really, if you look at it. But he, in this movie, he plays Milton Danmers, who is a eccentric FBI agent who is basically on a vendetta against our hero, Frank Bannister, played by Michael J. Fox. So, Jeffrey Combs, most notably, if you ask me, outside this, would be he plays Herbert West, the character in the movie series. There's 3 of them, of the Reanimator. Also, fun little fact, if you don't know anything about the Reanimator. Reanimator is a horror comedy loosely based on the 1922 H.P. Lovecraft serial novella called Herbert West Reanimator. They made, like I said, 2 sequels. Right? Am I mistaken on that? Bride of Reanimator and Beyond Reanimator, right? Yeah. Well, the cool thing, not that they made sequels. The cool thing about what I was going to say, the trivia fact, which is a pretty cool thing, is so he played the character Herbert West in the Reanimator, based on the novella Herbert West Reanimator by H.P. Lovecraft, and then in where is it at here? 1993. So basically, Reanimator was made. The original one was made in 1985. Necronomicon, Book of the Dead, is a movie from 1993. It's a French-American anthology horror film. And in that film, which is the trivia fun, the fun part is, Jeffrey Combs plays H.P. Lovecraft, the creator of Herbert West's character, who he is most famously known as playing in the Reanimator movies. So that's fun, right? I thought it was fun. I think it was an interesting little fact. And it's been forever since I've seen the Necronomicon, Book of the Dead, so I don't know if anyone else remembers it, but he's been in a lot of things. So Jeffrey Combs, like I said, most notably Reanimator. He's been in a ton of stuff. One of my favorites. I mean, he's been so many things that I love. Robot Jocks, The Guyver, Tracers or Tracers 2? I didn't look at the list. Tracers 2. He was in Fortress. Like I said, he played H.P. Lovecraft in Necronomicon, Book of the Dead. He was in obviously the Frighteners. I Still Need You Did Last Summer. House on Haunted Hill. He plays Dr. Richard Benjamin Van Cott. More recently, let's see. Oh, he played. Oh, that's weird. He played a voice role in something called Howard Lovecraft and the Kingdom of Madness, where he does the voice of H.P. Lovecraft. That's pretty interesting. He did voices in Batman, the Batman cartoon. He was in a bunch of Star Trek shows as different aliens. He was on. There's so many different things that he's been in. Babylon 5, I think. He's been in a lot of stuff. But it's Jeffrey Combs. He's been in so many things. Watch The Reanimator. That's the best thing you can watch with him, other than The Frighteners. Definitely watch The Frighteners, because that's what we're talking about today. But if you want to get a good one, Reanimator is a good one to watch, too. Next up is Dee Wallace. Dee Wallace plays... Dee Wallace Stone. I'm sorry. Dee Wallace Stone, as he's known. I think he's mostly known as Dee Wallace. Or she is known as Dee Wallace, but later on known as Dee Wallace Stone. But she's an actress. She was in E.T. She was in a lot of horror movies way back in the day. The original Hills Have Eyes. She was in The Howling. She was in Cujo, Critters. A lot of different things back in the day. Most recently, she was in Three from Hell. She was in the new Critters Attacks movie. I didn't know that. That's pretty awesome. That's a throwback. She plays Aunt D in that. That's pretty hilarious. She couldn't play the same character because, if I'm not mistaken, in Critters she died. So, spoiler alert. Television-wise, she's been in so many different things. Still active to this day, really active to this day. Been in episodes all over, everything from Taxi to, Hotel, Simon and Simon back in the day, L.A. Law, Jag, Touched by an Angel, Nash Bridges, Ally McBeal, so many different things she's been in. But she plays, in this particular movie, she plays Patricia Bradley, who is the older version of the... Doesn't matter. She plays Patricia Bradley, which I will get to in a minute who she is. But she plays the older version. There's a younger version of that's played by another actress. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I'm not there yet. I can't remember what is the name of the actress that plays the original or the younger version. Is that on this? I didn't pull up her name, did I? Well, that sucks. I didn't do that right. Anyhow, I'll get to that later. Maybe I'll find her name there. That's Dee Wallace, or Dee Wallace Stone, as some people also know her. Then Jake Busey. Jake Busey plays the one of the main antagonists, I guess you could say, because there's really three in the movie that you would consider antagonists. But anyways, again, I digress. Got off track. Jake Busey, son of Gary Busey. He's been in a ton of different movies. Probably my favorite one, Frighteners. He was also in Starship Troopers. He was also in Tomcats, which is a really hilarious movie, I think, where he loses a nut and then has Jerry O'Connell get him his nut back for a keychain and ends up losing it. Not going to tell you how. But later on, he was in Stranger Things just recently. As of not last year, year before. Right? Was that last year? It was last year. Man, that seems like a long time ago. But it's season 3 of Stranger Things. He was in that. He plays a detective of some sort, if I'm not mistaken. Or a cop of some sort. I can't remember. He was He played in one episode of Psych, which is really what you need to know. He was in an episode of Justified. I mean, he's been in a lot of different things. This is Jake Busey, man. Gary Busey's kid. He's actually a really good actor in a lot of things, but he's kind of, hit or miss in some things. But yeah, it's Jake Busey. He's pretty dope. Next up is Chi McBride. Chi McBride in this particular movie plays Cyrus, which again, I'll get into these characters a little bit. Not too much in detail, but a little bit about him. Chi McBride, now most notably for being on a shit ton of episodes of Hawaii Five-0, which I believe just ended, right? I don't remember. He was only in the last, basically, seasons 4 through, recurring role in 4, and everything from 4 through 10 for the last, 5 years or so. I don't know how many episodes he was in, but I know they did 240 episodes of that particular show. That's the remake, the newer one that's out, not the original one. But yeah, he's in that. He's been in a lot of, again, he had a lot of roles on different TV shows, including Psych, which everyone should be watching. One of my favorite shows that ended way too soon, but it was super weird, and so I understand why it ended, which was called Pushing Daisies. He was on an episode of Monk. He was in a TV show called The Nine, which is way back in 2006 and 2007 on ABC. It was a American crime television show. He's been in a lot of different TV shows. Max Steel, which is a show, is on, it's an animated show somewhere. I don't remember. It was based on a toy property. But movie-wise, he's been in a lot of different things. Probably his biggest role besides the Frighteners, Gone in 60 Seconds would be a good one. Because he's going to get that. Oh, I forgot he was in iRobot. That's a good one, too. I don't remember what else he was big ones in. I mean, he's been in a lot of different movies, so I can't really say he's not noticeable. Oh, he's in Narc. I remember Narc. You remember Narc? You ever seen the movie Narc? Oh, shit, that movie's fucked up. Love that movie. Next up is Jim Fife. I believe that's how you say his name. Is Fyfe. I think that's how you spell or say his name. I do not remember this guy from anything. So, I mean, I'm another one of these where, like, he looks recognizable, but I couldn't pinpoint him to save my life. He's done a lot of things. I mean, not a whole lot of things, but he's done some things. But I couldn't tell you, like, pinpoint. I can say, oh, look at this, and you would know what he is. What I found out was he's a producer on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. I didn't know that because I don't watch that show and I don't read the credits of that show. But apparently that's what I learned from doing my research, is that's what he does now. But he just done that since 2015, which I think is when. Is that no? Colbert's been on there longer than 5 years, right? When did that show start? Oh no, shit. Okay, no, 2015. Okay, only 5 years. Seems longer than that. Anyways, but yeah, he's been in that. I don't know. Another thing I could say. Oh, he's been in this. He's been in 2 episodes of X-Files. He was in an episode of Smart Guy, which I don't even fucking know what that is. Oh my god, he was in Team Knight Rider. It was one episode of Team Knight Rider. You guys gotta look up Team Knight Rider. Team Knight Rider was a show from in late 90s, 98. Yeah, they only made like 1 season. It was fucking terrible. I can't remember what he. Where is he? It doesn't matter. He was in that. That show is terrible. Watch it. Just go on YouTube real quick if you want to have fun time and type in Team Knight Rider, also known as TKR, and watch. They probably have clips of it on there. I don't know. It was a really bad show, but yeah, check it out. It's real bad. It's Jim Fife. yeah, man, he plays Stewart, which I'll get to in a minute, who that is in a little more detail. And then next up, rapid fire on these ones is Troy Evans plays Sheriff Perry, who is the law enforcement officer in the movie. He's been in a lot of different things. If you see him, you'll probably be like, oh, that guy. He's been in so many things that when you pull up his, like, for example, Wikipedia, which I do to get my quick research from, for movies-wise, he has a selected filmography. That's how many things this dude has been in. He's been in so many different things. Everything from Demolition Man to The Stand, Ace Ventura Pet Detective. He's currently on a show called Bosch on Amazon, which I've only seen the first 2 seasons of, but it's a really good show. He was the coach in Teen Wolf, the first one, so that's pretty rad. Yeah, My Blue Heaven, he's in that one. He's a good guy in that one too. But anyways, yeah. So next up, we have Juliana McCarthy, who plays Old Lady Bradley, who is Patricia's mother and guardian in the movie. She has been in a bunch of stuff too. A lot of TV shows, a handful of movies. Nothing that I can really pinpoint and be like, that's the one she's in. Again, she looks familiar. You've probably seen her in things, but you're like, I don't know anything at all. After that, we have Arlie Army, or Ermy. I can't remember. I don't know. I always say Arlie Army because it sounds funny because he's always playing military dudes. And he plays a military dude in this. He plays Hiles, who's a master sergeant in this, which I'll get to in a minute. He's done a lot of different things. One of my favorite roles was Saving Silverman. He played their old PE coach, and he's really funny in that. He's been in a lot of different movies. Apocalypse Now, he played Eagle Thrust 7 helicopter pilot. But most notably, most people know him from Full Metal Jacket as Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. Fantastic role, and whenever you think Arlie Army, you're going to think of him in that role because that is the number one role that everyone pinpoints him to, and he always does military roles. Like I said, it's just he plays the Army Sergeant in the Toy Story movies. But yeah, that's Arlie Army. Unfortunately, did pass away in 2018. But is a pretty cool dude and has a lot of different ones. Oh, he had a show on History Channel called Mail Call, where he talked about military stuff, and they tested military weapons and stuff. It was just really cool, modern and historic weapons and stuff, and it was a really cool show. I loved that one. And then Locked and Loaded with Arlie Army, which was the last thing he did for... I also want to say that was on the History Channel as well. But yeah, I loved Mail Call. That was a fun show. And last but not least is Elizabeth Hawthorne, who plays Magna Reese Jones, who is the editor of the local newspaper in the town this takes place in, who is basically kind of like out to get Frank for sure. But she's been in a ton... Well, not... say a ton. She's been in a ton of different things. A lot of 1 and 2 episodes of things, a couple of different TV movies. I thought... I could have swore she was the... what's her face? The giant lady from Harry Potter movies? The one that Hagrid kind of has a thing for? I was wrong. That's not her, which makes me feel bad. But I could have swore that was her, but I was completely wrong. But whatever. I'm sorry, but that's who I thought she was. So I was like so excited, like, oh, she was in Harry Potter. Nah, she wasn't. That wasn't her. My bad. But she's been in a handful of stuff. Like I said, bunch of TV movies, a few recurring roles on different programs on the television you can watch. Not that any of these would matter because I think they're all a lot of British shows. So I don't know what they were, but she was in an episode of Xena Warrior Princess, so that's cool, right? That's cool. Anyhow, so that's your cast. There's some other people in it too, but I'm not going to go into it. But Peter Jackson does make a cameo, which he does in most of his movies. He played Man with Piercings in the movie. Pretty funny. But anyways, so the Frighteners is basically this. Architect Frank Bannister's wife, Deborah, dies in a car accident. He is sort of blamed for it, but no one can prove it, and then becomes essentially an exorcist for the town. And everyone thinks he's a con man, mainly because he has the ability to see ghosts and befriends them. He has 3 different ghosts that he becomes friends with. He has a street gangster from the 1970s named Cyrus, played by Chi McBride. He has Stuart. Stuart is a 1950s nerd who is played by Jim Fife. And then he has the judge, the gunslinger from Old West, who is, of course, played by John Astin in this. And they help him haunt people, and then he exorcises them, air quotes, to get them out of there and makes money off of it. Which is funny because he's a con man, but he's using real ghosts, so there's really hauntings, but he's the one that causes it, so he's like double con man, but also like in a way telling the truth because there are ghosts, but no one else can see them, which is super funny. But anyhow. So in this, he then runs into Ray Linsky, who is basically his next victim. Ray, who is married to Lucy, who's a physician. Ray dies of a heart attack. When Frank discovers there is an entity appearing as the Grim Reaper, killing people, and he's marking his victims with a number on their forehead, and because of Frank's ability to see ghosts, he can see the numbers, and he starts to freak out because he can see the Grim Reaper as well as his next victims. And so he goes out to try to figure out what it is, and then it's like there's the FBI agent played by Jeffrey Combs comes in and accuses Frank of being a devil worshiper, and I think he even says that he's a cultist at one point. But it was pretty funny. And then so he's out to get him. The main antagonists, which are, again, the 2 main ones, there's 3. Jeffrey Combs' character of Milton Danvers, the FBI agent. You have Jake Busey's Johnny Bartlett, who is the actual murderer and mass murderer from when he was younger, whose grown-up girlfriend, Patricia Bradley, is a mentally ill lover of Jake Busey's character, Johnny Bartlett, who they together actually committed the crimes back in the day, but only he was committed, or he was sentenced to death, and he had a body count that he wanted to get up higher, and it turns out that they were both doing it. So technically speaking, his body count isn't as high because they split a lot of those murders, but they would carve the number into the head of the victims, so that tells you who they are and so forth. Anyways, so with the help of his ghost friends, Frank goes after to try to stop the ghost of Johnny Bartlett and the now elderly Patricia Bradley from continuing their murder streak, which they've been doing, Johnny's been doing beyond the grave because he found the sickle of the Grim Reaper, and he's posing as the Grim Reaper, taking people out, and then Frank gets involved, and he ends up getting sort of blamed by the press, who's played by Elizabeth Hawthorne, Magna Reese-Jones, who it becomes one of the victims because he's trying to save her, and in basically reenactments the car crash that killed his wife, who his wife Deborah was found with a number carved into her head. Turns out because she was killed by Johnny Bartlett's ghost before he went on his thing. Anyways, I know that doesn't make sense. If you watch it, you'll understand more about it, but that's essentially the movie. It's hilarious. There's actually really frightening stuff in it too. The look of things, real fun movie by Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh. But yeah, no, you should check it out. I own it, so I'm not too sure where else you can watch it. It might still be on Netflix. I'm not too sure. I probably could have checked for you, but I have it on iTunes, and I actually think it's probably on sale right now because well, it's a Halloween movie, and that's why I'm talking about this month. But anyways, that's it for this week's episode of The Awesome with Cody. As usual, I have been your host, Cody. And, like I always say at the end of these, let's be awesome.